I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and I'm here tonight to chat, open up a couple boxes. I have a KnitPicks box from their big March spring sale, and then I have an Amazon box that has some fun goodies in it that I'm excited about. And then I thought that we could chat. If you guys have any questions, you can always feel free to lay them on me. But I will say the KnitPicks is having a big sale right now. You can get 15% off your whole order with the code March15. My affiliate link is both in the video description and it's in the chat. I am an affiliate, which means I do earn commission when you shop through my links, but everything here is stuff that I purchased myself, and I wholeheartedly endorse a lot of their products and I use them regularly because I like them. So I just sort of wanted to get that out there. But the sale originally was supposed to end on the 26th and they've extended it, but it ends tonight at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. So if you want to take advantage of this great coupon, which does stack with the bulk Bare Yarn 20 packs, as you'll see in a minute, you might want to take advantage of that. Hi everyone. And while we're talking about sales, Zazzle is also having a sale right now. And we've got some ChemKnits mugs and a few notebooks and stuff. And all the mugs are actually 50% off right now with a coupon code that's listed on their website. So that link is in the video description, but I will also drop it in the chat. There we go. And so you can save 50% off of mugs like these. And of course, I have nothing to do with any of those sales, but yeah, that's kind of the situation when I go and buy like my samples and stuff when I'm making stuff. Trying to think if yeah, that's basically it. And I'm a little bit giddy right now. I did go for a run today, which, so I have chronic fatigue syndrome. And when I do stuff like physical exercise, it sort of, instead of feeling like invigorated, I do feel like happy and stuff from the exercise, but I also get way more tired. So if I, makes me a little more scatterbrained than normal. So if I lose my train of thought, or if I sort of seem to be jumping all over the place, fair warning. But yeah, let's get started with the unboxing. Now, unfortunately, my KnitPicks box did come like partially open again, which is a little bit of a bummer. I know that like there was some like shipping snafu they had not like a little bit ago or something, but I don't think anything's damaged and the weather wasn't like bad or anything. But yeah, no, I do have CFS. I've had it for a long time, and thankfully my symptoms are fairly manageable. But yeah, I may have tried to maintain like balance, and so yeah, I went for the run today. The kids were on their scooters, and so this was the first time I was trying to run like with them, not in a stroller. And I actually hadn't run in almost 2 years because last spring I broke my foot, so then I wasn't running. So it felt really, really good, and I have a 5K coming up in a couple weeks, but maybe I'll talk about that towards the end of the video. All right, so let's get to this unboxing. Oh, this was not what I thought this was going to be at first. All right, so first off, I have 2 bags, which is a full 20 pack of Swish DK, which you know is one of my favorite yarn bases. I think I was down to like 1.5 bags, and so I was like, oh, 15% off everything. I should stock up. I stocked up a lot. Like, KnitPicks rarely does blanket coupons off the whole site. The best I've ever seen them do is 20%, which they usually do around their big sale. That's sort of like the best, like Black Friday or Cyber Monday, around that time period, the best sale that they do for the whole year. But then there's 15% scattered out throughout. And so I always try to use this as an opportunity to buy more 20 packs. Yeah, it's just a nice way to get, because when you buy bare yarn in a 20 pack, you save 15% off the list price, but then you get an additional 15% off that with the coupon March 15. Yes, sometimes they have coupons that don't stack, and I'll drop the link in again. I'll drop my link in, which for some reason is really long today. The 15% off coupon does stack with the bulk bare yarn. Occasionally they have things that don't stack, and they make that clear in the terms and conditions, but I've used this one twice now. So I've got another order on the way with the bare yarn. All right, and then the next thing, ooh, I haven't had one of these, but we got two, making up for lost time. So they've got some fiber confessions or crafting confessions. So the crafting confession is, I never swatch, anonymous knitter. I rarely swatch. If I'm gonna do a sweater or a hat or something with a yarn weight and needles I'm not familiar with, then I will definitely swatch. But I, like, a lot of times for like scarves and stuff, I don't. With a lot of things, like with KnitPicks Wool of the Andes, I use that so much that I have a good sense of like, oh, if this pattern calls for 100 stitches, maybe I should go up or down a needle size or something. Hi, Andy. Do you know you're on camera? Like his little nose pokes up. Okay, why don't you go lay down? I know, mommy wants to pet you too, but mommy's on TV. Okay, fine. Go get daddy. Go get daddy. And then it says, thank you for your order, fellow fiber enthusiast. Here at KnitPicks, we know that the happiness is a box filled with yummy yarns can bring. And I will say their customer service is great if you ever have an issue. Woohoo! Yeah, the 15% off discount is nice. So I also got a 20 pack of Stroll fingering weight yarn. I think of all the yarns, this is the one that I go through the most. And a lot of times it has really been in stock a lot this year. A lot of times last year, maybe like, or a year and a half ago, sometimes it would just, people would buy, it would go out of stock, and then you'd have to wait a while for it to come back in stock. And so a lot of times I find that it seemed to me, as just observing, that sometimes these big % off sales happen right when you can tell before they're about to get a big shipment in, because there will be a lot of stuff back ordered that has dates that are supposed to show up sometime soon. But this time, like, there are definitely some things on the website that are back ordered, but like Hawthorne, I think, is back ordered right now. Otherwise I would have gotten some more of that too. So if it's something that I use a lot, I try to take advantage of these sales, because it allows me to like do a video where I use more than one skein of yarn, because it brings like all the costs down. And so I like to do that. But wait a minute. Oh, I guess that's all I got. I thought that I got more. No, I mean, there's one more skein in there, but I'm now confused. Ooh, but KnitPicks has something else going on right now. So, and it's on the main page, but you know how KnitPicks has the sock lab where they'll do sort of like a hand dyed, different technique in maybe 1 or 2 colorways each month. Like they've done some like really cool like striping or dipped and like other things like that. But they have a sock lab mystery skeins from the archive. So right now you can get 2 skeins for the price of 1. I am not sure if the sock lab grab bags, if that stacks with the coupon, and I'm going to go check that right now. But you can pick between either the Stroll or the Hawthorne base, and you'll get 2 skeins. I have no idea if it's the same colorway. Yeah, the coupon works on that. So you can get 2 skeins of the sock lab yarn for $13, about $13.60. So that's not bad for 200 grams. I believe it's 200 grams. So that was something that I saw that looked really cool. I think a lot of those yarns are really, really pretty. And if I didn't think like, I wouldn't want to over dye them. And so that's the only reason why I'm not taking advantage of that. Yeah, no, I just started. Okay, so the last thing I got in this order is some Bear Swish fingering yarn. And okay, so I'm not sure, but I think that they redid this yarn. And I didn't think to grab if I still have one from the first iteration of the Swish fingering to bring down. Because at one point it went on like clearance goodbye sale, and now it's back. When they first released a bunch of new Bear yarn bases, I was so excited for Swish fingering, and then I opened it up and I was disappointed that it was superwash wool, not superwash merino. But they re-released it. Oh, okay, so maybe this was all in my head. The website has said superwash merino. This says superwash wool. But it feels softer. Like, I don't know. So the last time, like when I first got it, I was like, oh, it doesn't feel quite like, this feels more like Swish to me. So, okay, now I have no idea if it was just in my head. But I remember when I touched the Swish fingering for the first time, I was like, oh, I was a little bummed. But then I picked this one up and I was like excited. So, I don't know. It dyes really beautifully. I've dyed it once. But the website now says merino, and it didn't say merino for a while, so I'm not sure. Okay, so I have no idea what I'm talking about. But I was curious to see if that was anything different. But at some point, and I'll post on Facebook, I'll see if it has something else I can compare it to. I do know that like this one feels really soft. The other one was soft too. I just wasn't blown away, and I had been so excited for a superwash non-nylon fingering weight yarn. But I do think that this is pretty nice, and I am actually, maybe it's just grown on me if it's the exact same or not. I don't know. Oh, I don't know. And I get no extra information from KnitPicks about anything, any of their sales, unless I call customer service, but then I'm just like a standard customer asking. But I do sometimes will go through like a bunch of my old emails. And so I don't have like a spreadsheet or anything, but I can sort of predict a tiny bit when some sales might come sometimes. But yeah, it's always hard to know. So with the % off coupons, I don't, except for the like big sale one in November, I don't usually know when they're coming. All right, so this is something. All right, so I am also, whenever I share an Amazon link, I'm also like an affiliate there. So those are technically affiliate links, but let's see what I got in here. Oh, this is a nice little case. Okay, so industrial looking, but here you'll be able to see what I got. I got a bunch of bigger syringes. I had one big syringe that I got at the dollar store, and I think it was a 30 ml syringe, and I had been using it a lot to like measure out different dyes, but it was really frustrating to only have one. And so I really wanted to get some more, so that way like I could do some more color mixing in a way that might be slightly more reproducible. Even if it's not like, even if dye stocks aren't necessarily always like perfect from day to day, but if on one day I mix a color for hand painting and I run out, then I could mix more that same day. That would be beneficial. So let's see. I think the biggest one, okay, so the biggest one, all right, so now I have two 30 ml syringes, and I believe that these come with, oh, these are all really short. They have short, blunt tips, but I don't think I'd really be using the tips much anyway. I'd probably just be going through like the plastic at the bottom. But I got these for measuring. And so, yeah, I guess there's 230, 220, 210, 2.5, and 2 size 3. The size 5 and the size 3 I didn't really need, because if any of you have young kids and you buy a lot of, say, like children's ibuprofen and Tylenol, you know, you end up with so many, I'm not going to ever be able to get these all back in. You end up with so many like 5 ml syringes. So I have plenty of those. And obviously, once I take a syringe for like the ChemKnits side of things, it never goes back into a human. I'm very, very careful about not mixing stuff. Yeah, I'm never going to get things back in this case. But that's okay. I didn't buy it for the case. And I think this was about $10 or $11. And so, yeah. Ooh, a question. How long have I dyed yarn? Not quite a decade. Well, technically the first time I dyed yarn was when I was 10 years old, but that doesn't really count. I started dyeing yarn when I lived, so somewhere between 2006 and 2009 was when I first dyed yarn. And it went on the blog post sometime around then as well. So ChemKnits had already been started, and I had a bunch of white, 80% acrylic, 20% wool, and I didn't want it all to be white. And so then I went and I dyed it. I went to the supermarket, found what colors of Kool-Aid they had, and yeah, I guess the rest is history. My first video dyeing yarn was around in that time frame as well. But I think a lot of, because I had a video, and I don't think it's even on YouTube. I think it's just on Blogger that I did at one point of space dyeing. Maybe that one was on in the other apartment when I moved in 2009. Wait a minute. I'm now confused. Okay, I guess ChemKnits just turned 10 years old. This is why I'm so confused. ChemKnits started in 2008. So it must have been 2009. Yeah, that must have been, I moved apartments in August of 2009. So it could have been in like mid 2009 maybe when I first tried. Not too much, just opening up KnitPicks stuff. You're thinking about getting a pharmacist scale and one of those tiny spatulas for measuring dyes accurately. Yeah, little scoops could be helpful. I have a scale. I have a scale that goes to like 0.1 grams that I use for a lot of different stuff. I weigh packages and I measure dye. And I like it okay. I would like a scale that's better for smaller quantities. Because sometimes you want to measure something out like that's even smaller. But in general, with powdered dyes, it's way more accurate to go with weight than it is to go with volume, because dyes can get like compressed or fluffed up. And so weight is sort of the way to go with that. But if you make a stock solution, I just wanted some better ways of measuring liquids. And so speaking of liquids, I'm thinking I didn't quite get, well, we'll see. Wait, are you kidding? I think I messed up. Maybe not a ton. Bummer. Okay. So I thought that I was ordering something that had a bigger, I really wanted a 500 milliliter graduated cylinder, just because I'd been measuring in like a Pyrex cup and I wanted something that was a little more accurate. This will be fine. So I have, there's a 100 mil graduated cylinder, a 50 mil, then I think a 25 mil and a 10 mil. So, I mean, these are better than, like the syringes are sort of like a quick and dirty way to do it. Like the graduated cylinders are a way to more accurately measure volumes. But if you want to measure a large volume, like the more measurements you do, the more error you introduce into things. So if I wanted to measure out 500 milliliters of whatever solution I was doing. It's better to measure 500 milliliters once than 100 milliliters 5 times, if that makes sense. But ultimately, I don't care about that level of accuracy a ton. There is just one video where I am going to be doing some more math and calculations that I was caring about the accuracy. So it came with some transfer pipettes, which actually might come in fairly handy. These are just the like disposable little like dropper guys. But it did come with some beakers. And so there is, okay, so these, and they're plastic, not glass. So they're like with heat and stuff, the shape could change a bit. But I have a 1 liter, and then I have a 500 ml beaker, 250, 100, and okay, this tiny 50 ml beaker is really, really, really cute. I mean, this ended up being one of the cheaper sets with the graduated cylinders. Maybe I decided away from a 500 one. Maybe I decided like for all like, I mean, really like even just using this 1 liter beaker is still probably it's accurate enough for what I need to do. I think that if you are someone who you're mixing your own colors or you have a colorway and it's really important that you repeat it and that the math for your technique is very important, then you probably want to get like glass graduated cylinders and stuff so you can accurately measure things out, and a better scale so you can, again, accurately measure things out. But yeah, I just wanted more than one item to measure things with, because I've been doing some, I mean, when I make a 1% stock solution, it's like, it's a 1% stock solution because, you know, I'm not sure what the plus or minus is there. But there are like, you know, a few different variables that can come into play. And so I just thought it'd be fun to have some toys to play around with these beakers and graduated cylinders. And I think this set, okay, so this set was about $12. Maybe the syringes I got were about $9. And so I figured it was worth it to have like these toys to play with. And at least it comes with it also came with a brush. So that's great. When I was in the lab, we definitely had some plastic graduated cylinders and stuff we used, but in general, I used a lot of glass. A lot of the stuff, like vinegar is not going to hurt the plastic, so that's not a concern. The concern is more if I'm dealing with like really hot water when mixing stocks. Yeah, I think that it's going to be fun to play with. It's like 99% accurate on 1% stock solution. Oh, sorry, Joe. Is KnitPicks my main supplier? Yes, I buy most of my bare yarn, well, pretty much all of my bare yarn from KnitPicks. I talked about this a little bit in a recent live stream where I unboxed a wool to dye for order, the first like wholesale order I placed from them. And like the reason why I am still like mainly going with KnitPicks is for a few reasons. One, I really like the company, and I was a customer of theirs for many years before I really started filming videos. So I use a lot of the yarns, so it made sense for me to dye the same bases that I was using from their own colors. Like that was just a nice, easy setup, because like initially the bare yarns they had were the same as the palette, as Wool of the Andes, and Stroll, and so those were yarns that I knew and used, and so it made sense to go with those bare yarn bases. And I liked that you could buy single skeins of these yarns. A lot of other companies that sell bare yarn, you need to do a minimum of 10, which is really intimidating when you're just starting out. My really early dyeing videos, I would have one skein of yarn stretch for at least 10 videos and I was just doing minis because I wanted to play around with different techniques, see what worked, see what kind of cool effects I could get, but I didn't, you know, need 100 grams of each thing that I was trying. And so, yeah, that sort of made sense for me until then I sort of like got more confident and started doing more on big skeins. And so I have some blog posts, and I think, oh, I guess I didn't link to one in here. I have like a blog post from many years ago on when I did research on where to buy bare yarns. And in all the research I did, it made sense for me to go with KnitPicks. I've only been a KnitPicks affiliate since the fall of 2017. So just over, like, maybe not even quite a year and a half. And at that point, I had already been buying from them in bulk for a while. So I had made that decision before sort of getting a marketing type relationship with them. And, you know, there's no question that the fact that I have that relationship with them makes me want to continue working with them. But also, I think that, like, in a lot of cases, their prices are really good. Some other companies might ship a little faster, but I don't know. I know them and they're familiar, and like Wool to Die For has so many more options for yarn bases. And in some cases, the prices are cheaper, in some cases, they're not. And so I think that, you know, depending on what your business is, or if you're doing it for personal use, that might help shape the direction of where you're going. Like at Wolf to Die For, you only get the discount if you have like a business ID. And so you don't get the bulk. You can still buy the retail price, but it's still, you know, a commitment. And to buy wholesale with them, you have to buy at least 5 kilograms. Whereas with KnitPicks, you know, you can buy one skein and pay for shipping, or you can buy $50 worth and get free shipping. So there's not really a minimum purchase with KnitPicks, which is another reason why I found it really attractive when I was starting off on this journey. And so since my goal is to make things as approachable as possible, I like still being with like a distributor of bare yarn that is a retail company, and so is therefore accessible to a lot of people. Whereas, yeah, I mean, and I certainly, like, at this point, like, I'm accumulating tools. Like, I have an expensive skein winder. I don't expect everyone to go out and get those or anything, but so I am getting some tools to like make my life easier in some respects. But yeah, I try to make things be like in general, as relatable as possible. And so, like, you don't need graduated cylinders. Like, I've got over 600 videos of yarn dyeing. Well, they're probably not all yarn dyeing, but I've got over 500 videos probably of yarn dyeing in some capacity, and I haven't used a graduated cylinder yet. So, like, you don't have to have something like that, but it's fun. And if you want to play around with mixing colors and recording recipes for getting the hues that you make, and maybe doing tests, like little swatches of colors to have in a notebook that you can then reference, like the colors on the yarn, like at that point, then you want to start having more accurate measurements in whatever capacity it works for you. Oh, absolutely. But yeah, then this mug is my Broken Violet DNA knit helix pattern, which I just love. And actually, I think this might still be like the header on the YouTube channel. But I like that. And if you go to the iCard, you can see like links to a bunch of stuff. But I consider my business to primarily be this YouTube channel. So I consider my job to be making tutorials and filming videos. And then sort of everything else sort of helps support that. Like, I sell the yarn that I dye so that way I can buy more materials for more videos, and also make room for more yarn for more videos, and things like that. And so, yeah, it's sort of all interrelated. I do, so in addition to, say, the bare yarn that I've dyed in videos, in my Etsy shop, there are occasional, well, by occasional, it's happened once so far, samplers. And so I'm going to do an event this summer where people can buy a sampler that each night will be wrapped up, and you can unwrap a mini skein of yarn while watching me dye that yarn, which I think is something that's a lot of fun and sort of like another level to interact with me. Pre-sales for that will go up sometime in April, I think. I'm still working on planning out everything, but I think that that'll be really exciting. One other really fun thing that I offer through my shop is I offer sponsorship of Dye Pot Weekly episodes. And so these are like, I might rename it from sponsorship to something else, because it's not like when you have like a corporate sponsor or something, but it's really, you know, an individual will, basically you're getting mystery dyed to order yarn, and then you get to watch me do it because I'm also making a video to share with everyone. So sponsors of Dye Pot Weekly get, they'll get 1 or 200 grams of yarn that I dye in the video, and you get to pick, as the sponsor, you get to pick the yarn base. So whether I'm going to do stroll or swish, and then, yeah, and you tell me some colors to avoid. So like if you hate orange, like I'll stay away from it, that kind of thing. And then I'll design a video with you in mind, and yeah, and then it gets shared on the channel and you get shout outs in the video. And so that's basically what the sponsorship is. I did sort of want to clarify all this because sometimes the sponsors come and be like, hey, like I have this idea, would you be interested in making a video on it? And on a case-by-case basis, that can definitely work. And so sometimes someone's like, hey, do you have like a yarn base that might be different from like what you offer? And so sometimes, like, you know, we work things out. But ultimately, like in general, it's not really a like, oh, I request that you make this specific yarn for me kind of thing, like you can maybe do with some other independent dyers, because like if someone makes a request of a specific kind of video they can sponsor, I still need to have like wiggle room for creativity in it. And for upcoming sponsors, you know, that's I have no complaints with anyone who has sponsored in the past or who has even reached out and requested. It's just some requests I might decline because either it doesn't fit in with the like schedule of things I want to be working on. But sometimes like the request or suggestion fits exactly in with the queue that I have things to work on anyway. And so I hope like that kind of makes sense. For the sampler, I'm still working out the details, but tentatively, there's definitely going to be one sampler size that'll be 100 grams of minis, a combination of 10 gram and 20 gram minis, 100 grams total. There will likely also be a 50 gram sampler. And so there'll be 5 10 gram minis. But I'm still working out the details of all of that. I mean, I've ordered the minis and stuff already. You guys have seen me unbox them, but I'm working on the like video plans and trying to figure out how to best structure this so the videos aren't way too long, because I'm like, we'll have to dye things in like multiple batches. And yeah, I'm just working out all those details still. But yeah, I'm glad you guys are able to all join. Yeah, it's a lot of, I don't know, it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy, I love when like I am filming a video with a particular person in mind. It is really, really fun. Sometimes I don't, and like a lot of times I don't know quite what the result is going to be, which makes it even more fun. But I just, yeah, wanted to clarify a little bit that it is ultimately like a mystery package. Like, you know, the final colors will always be a surprise. And yeah, and if, you know, and I'm happy to like if there's something that you have in mind, like feel free to reach out to me. For something like that, reach out to me on Etsy and like we can chat about it. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's only the queue for that is pretty full at the moment. There's only one slot left right now, but there should be a few more going back, a few more slots opening up as I finish filming and editing some of the videos that are currently in the queue. So you hope the sampler sets are good enough for a good size shawl. Yeah, I mean, I think, so the sampler sets, they're definitely not going to be designed specifically as like a specific fade project in mind, because there'll be a bunch of different techniques and colors, but definitely this time I'm doing all one yarn base, so that way they could all be incorporated into one project. And so I think that, I forget how many yards, the 100 grams of that yarn is, but I'm really, that's awesome. Yeah, it would be a great Mother's Day gift. I had so much fun doing the Hanukkah sampler that, and this like summer series is in part like a big thank you to all of the ChemKnits patrons, because I hit like my first goal over there. And so then like the sort of thing is like, hey, I'm going to do like a special series. It'll be likely 5 nights of videos, like a new one each evening, and maybe I'll even do premieres or something for them, so that way I can join in on the chat room with you guys and chat. And yeah, so so Christine said that, you know, you might need to order 2 sets for a shawl depending on what pattern you choose. So I do a lot of shawlettes versus large shawls. So I do a lot of things with just 100 grams personally, but I know other people like to make things that are larger. But I have a hypothesis that potentially, like, given that I don't have any idea what the colors are going to be like yet or how things will necessarily play together, I think that mixing it with a semi-solid or something could also be a fun way to go, or some other minis that mix my minis with some minis that you dye. And yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I have a lot of ideas. I have a lot of ideas. So we'll see how it all comes together. But I really don't think I'm being overly ambitious with this. I have been very productive so far this year. And so I'm currently working on videos and editing, like the videos I'm editing now are going to be published in May. Some of the sponsored videos in the queue will probably come out, like I save slots for them. And so some of those, like I still have to finish up, but I'm, you know, about to start filming for June. And so it's kind of hard when I do something that is so cool and then I know it's not going to come out for months. But on the other hand, this gives some flexibility for life happening and doing a whole special series because I'll have time to just like focus and film, and I'm really, really excited. Oh yes. Yeah, that is very, very true. That is very, very true. There are so many amazing shawls and stuff out there. At one point, well, I had like one idea for this series at one point, and I might, we'll see how things shake out as I'm planning out like colors and stuff. Yes, I believe that they will be bringing back. I have no reason to believe that they're gonna get rid of Hawthorne 20 packs. Hawthorne right now is on back order. And so when an individual bare yarn at KnitPicks is on back order, it does not show up on the bulk 20 pack page anymore. So they don't show the ones that are out of stock under the bulk discount at the time. But like I have it on my like wish list or my notify me list. And so the item still exists. So I have it on my notify me probably permanently. I think I leave, like all my most common ones in there. Yes, I do a lot of like amigurumi stuff myself. And like, but yeah, the goal this time, do I have Hawthorne in there? Oh no, I don't have Hawthorne in my notify me. I keep a lot of 20 packs in there. But yeah, that should be coming back. Hawthorne is like one of their like core stock yarns. Hi. What you doing? Okay, you want to come out? Hi. What's wrong? Well, I'm not going to complain right now. Mommy is on the internet. Do you want to sit and be with everybody? This is Indy. He's my American Eskimo puppy who is finally, like, I think becoming a grown-up. What, are you to be 8? He'll be 8 this year. And he's finally like, I mean, he still will like run and stuff, but some of the puppy energy has like calmed down. Yes. Okay. Well, that is not the best place to sit. You already had dinner. Go get daddy. He's very, very sweet to us. He does not do well meeting new people, which is kind of difficult at times, but he's great with the kids and a wonderful, wonderful family pup. But yeah, the KnitPicks finally, sometime maybe towards the end of last year, they added a lot of the new bear yarns to the bulk 20 pack list, which made me really happy. But I've reorganized all of my bear yarn, which was really helpful. And I now have a box of ones that I'm like, okay, this is stuff I have only one of. This is like stuff that needs to get wound, that's in ball form, needs to be wound into skeins. This is all like wool nylon. And then like, here are all my 20 packs. I'm about to get some new storage furniture for my studio, which is really kind of like a hallway / closet, but it's a decent sized room, but you have to walk through it to get to a stairway. And yeah, so I'm gonna try to be better at using some of the random things that I get. We have been collecting indie fur for his whole life. I've got little baggies full when, unfortunately, and let's see, because you're shedding right now. So unfortunately, his staple length is pretty short. So I'm a little nervous about like spinning it because his fur is ultimately shorter than, it's maybe only like 2 inches, maybe 2 to 3, like it's not very long. And so I'm nervous about spinning it. I'd want to blend it with something first, I think. Hi. You're just staring at me. Where's Daddy? I don't know where Daddy is. Go get him. He's upstairs. Go to the 3rd floor. He's just like staring at me like, Mommy, who are you talking to? I don't, like, what's going on? Yeah, I actually bought a bunch of BFL with the purpose of eventually blending it with him. Hi, I know I love you, but why don't you go lay down? I know, go lay down, please. You're distracting Mommy. Lay down. Lay down. Thank you. No! I hope you're not gonna like throw up or something. Usually in the evenings he just wants Keith. He's an American Eskimo. He is a standard size. His parents were both minis, but I think he's a little technically too tall to be considered a mini. BFL is blue-faced Leicester. Is it? I'm not sure. I talked about in the other stream how I struggle with like pronunciation of stuff, because here in Massachusetts we have things that are like the British way. We have like Worcester, which is spelled like Worcester. We have and then we have Winchester. And hi, what's wrong? Okay, can you please go lay down? Innie, go lay down. You're really distracting, Mama. I love you, but you're distracting as all things. I said it right. Okay, so it is Lester. I'm always like, BFL. Yeah, I'm feeling like I'm a bit all over the place, but it's, I don't know, it's all fun. I like what I do, and I appreciate that you all have given me this outlet to really just sort of go all in on the blog or vlog, YouTube channel, whatever this is where I am right now. Yeah, because it's funny when I did the Kickstarter, I underestimated the enthusiasm of support that I had. And, you know, I was like, oh, I'll start making like one video a week. And then I realized like, no, there's so much enthusiasm. I want to do 2 and then sometimes more. And so it's just been, yeah, since I've been consistent at 2 videos a week since September 2017. And I'm pretty proud of that. I'm not sure, like, at some point in the future, there might have to be like vacation weeks or something. But given that like it's just me, I try to work ahead so that way, you know, when someone breaks a foot or something. And as some of you may remember, I had a big celebration live stream planned, and the night before I ran into a wall. I stubbed my toe on the wall and I broke my foot like right here. And so I was waiting to go see an orthopedist when I was supposed to restarting the live stream. And so that was interesting to say the least. But yeah, I mean, life stuff happens, and I know you guys are all like really, really understanding, but I really, really enjoy being able to do this, and I like doing these unboxings and hanging out and chatting. So I mentioned at the beginning that I have a 5K coming up, and I don't know, I mean, I know why I didn't run it last year for sure, because I broke my foot, but I don't know why we didn't sign up for it. Maybe Keith was out of town that weekend, so we didn't register for it last year anyway. Because since the first BAA 5K I ever ran was in 2014. And so Lucas was about 6 months old then. And I've done 3, I think. No, this one will be my 3rd. This one will be my 3rd. Yeah, I guess last year we didn't do one. And then there was one year we were house hunting that weekend, and so we didn't fly out specifically for that. But the Boston Marathon has always been like a huge part of my life. And when we were in grad school, I think Keith ran like 5 BAA 5Ks, but I never really thought I could run because I'm a bit top heavy, and so running what used to be fairly uncomfortable until I was told by my friend to try wearing 2 sports bras. And actually that was really, really helpful because suddenly I could comfortably run. And so then like after we got married and moved, I signed up for my first 5K, and I've done like, I haven't done like a ton, but I've done like a reasonable number, and it keeps me running. I think my most comfortable, like I like doing like 1.5 to 2 miles is my favorite sort of like comfortable distance. But yeah, the marathon, like I grew up going and watching the marathon. I went to Wellesley for college, and so there, like it's about halfway point for the marathon, and so we have this huge scream tunnel, and it's a huge part of like the student experience and the marathoner experience too. It's a highlight when the runners are running because there's just this huge surge of noise and support from all of the students. And then and we've had a bunch of friends run over the years. So when we lived in Chicago, we came back. We lived in Chicago for 4 years, and we came back for 3 marathons that we were watching, and then one other one that we were not watching, but we were here because that was the weekend we were house hunting and buying our house. So it's been like a big part of our lives. And so back in 2013, when there was the bombing, we were actually at the finish line when all that happened. And so like, it actually made me like really even more determined. Like we were about a block or 2 back from the finish line, but we were headed towards the finish line to meet one of our best friends who was running, because we went and we watched her at like mile 18, then we went into the city, and so we got off the T, and the T station was closed where at Copley because of the finish line. They didn't want, I think, anyone being there beneath it, just as the precaution that there was back then. And then we were like a block or 2 back when the bombs went off. And like I was at the time I must have been about 12 or 13 weeks pregnant with Lucas. And so it was just a whole experience. And then like, we flew back to Chicago, and it was like, I don't know, it makes like even running the 5K and everything and being like a part of it that much more special. And just sort of having that, like, because I'm at the point now where the fear of the day is gone. Like I found out within minutes because our friend, she got access to someone's phone call, so she was able to reach her mom. And so I was able to reach her mom and find out that she was okay. She was still, she was a little further back. She hadn't gotten quite to the last few turns yet. And we were actually able to go and find her, like on Com Ave. We like found her in the crowd, and we gave our phones like to other people so they could text like other people's families and stuff. But just like people were coming out of the apartment buildings with trash bags, with water, with blankets for the runners, because it was a cold day and you're running the marathon and then they just stop and they don't have like all the foil blankets and stuff. And so the runners were all really cold and really confused about what was going on. And there was so much, like, internet was spotty, and like there was so little information, but like the city, like the strength of the city, and people were driving around to give stranded people rides home, back to their hotels, because this is one of the biggest like weekends in the whole city. And just the way that the whole area sort of like rallied together, like there's a lot of positivity from an otherwise horrific thing. And so I try to take from like the whole Boston Strong thing as like a like it's kind of like, just don't mess with Boston. But it's still like, I don't know, like, although I have a Boston Strong running headband, and the elastic, I have to like sew it or something because the elastic got stretched out. So that was sad. But I wore that when I was in labor with Lucas. So anyway, that's a long-winded spiel about like this 5K is really meaningful. And even though like I haven't trained for it all this year, like I don't care about a time. I care about doing something that encourages me to be active. And I don't know, it's just not letting fear stop me from doing things that are an important part of my life. So yeah, that's that. But yeah, no, it's like, I think I guess I probably don't have a post on ChemKnits about this. I had something on our family blog about this because I just wanted to like remember like everything that happened. And but yeah, so running today just got me thinking about like all this, but I don't know what the youngest age is for kids to do the BAA 5K, but like I'm really excited for the kids to be able to run it with them, especially something that's so meaningful. Like, you know, on Marathon Monday, like we always go watch the race, and it's just so much fun. Although last year it was raining, so I went by myself. I decided to go out in the rain because, like, you know, these runners trained. If they can run all those miles in the rain, I can go and stand in the rain and cheer them on for a little bit. And so I got absolutely drenched. Yeah, but yeah, so it's a big like weekend and big deal out here. But I haven't gone to the finish line again on Marathon Monday. Mainly because it's hard to get in and out of the city that day anyway. And yeah, my grandfather lives really close to the route, so we will go to his house, park at his house, and then walk like 2 blocks to Com Ave, so that way we can watch from there. And so that's like worked pretty well. But yeah, I'm excited. Well, I'm nervous because I have not trained for this one, but I did go and just like run 2 miles today. So after like not really running at all for a couple of years, the kids on the scooters were pretty good distractions though. I'm optimistic. I always give Keith the excuse, if he doesn't want to run for a time, he can always run with me, because then he can like, oh, I'm being Rebecca's cheerleader, versus like being frustrated at like not hitting like a time that he wants or something. But I also like having the company. But if he wants to run it and not hang back with me, I think I could also be fine like on my own too. Yeah, but I don't know, I'm excited. If you haven't ever run a 5K and you have the like, and you're able to, or you could be able to, I highly recommend it. It's sort of like, it gives like a good like feeling of like, yeah, I don't know, I just sort of want to show the kids that like, I don't know, mom can be strong too. And I know they think I'm like, I can do anything, but as they get older, I hope that like them watching me participate in stuff like races and stuff, even if I'm slow, the fact that I'm doing it, I hope is something that will encourage them. So yeah. But yeah, that's a huge digression, but I was thinking about all this today because of the running. And I mean, it's hard. Like I mentioned, like I have chronic fatigue syndrome, and I have for a really long time, and it's been stable for a really, really long time, and I have pretty good coping mechanisms for it. But unfortunately, even like there's like with exercise, there's a trade-off, because I can't like, if I'm going to go running, I then can't make any major decisions later that day. You know, I have to be able to just like either like lean on Keith or go with the flow, because like my ability to process complex information sort of diminishes because my mind is just so fatigued. But I've found like good ways to sort of decouple like it's I'm not sure if I'm explaining like the fog or anything very well, but you know, I find like I try hard to keep like my schedule pretty sparse overall, because that way like I really try hard to pace myself, and so then that helps me keep from getting to the state where like I collapse. For like, I used to have more times when I would just like be like out of commission for like a little while, just because like I would push too hard, and so yeah, I do a lot of like compensating for that. And so it's a shame that like, and it's like sometimes I have to make a choice. And I don't know if you guys know spoon theory. Like I have to make a choice between like, you know, doing like some kind of like, you know, being an active playing with the kids or like doing the run. Walking doesn't give the same kind of like issue, but so yes, chronic fatigue syndrome is different from narcolepsy. It is basically a diagnosis of exclusion. I have had a lot of tests over the years that came back negative. I did test positive for having mono at some point. So whether or not this started off as like mono that I basically never recovered from, we're not entirely sure. But the one thing that is like, so I don't like fall asleep in strange places, but the sleep study showed that I had hypersomnia, which meant that I like was way like, apparently I was sleeping, but I just wasn't getting restored from the sleep that I was getting. But yeah, and I mean, I'm lucky that like, I mean, the fatigue stuff is definitely physical, but I feel the effects a lot more usually like in my brain is where I really feel the fatigue more. My ability to focus goes, my ability to make decisions and process a lot of information really goes. And so like I can get really anxious and stressed out by a lot of things. But on the flip side, and so like on the positive side, doing yarn dyeing and being like really spontaneous with that and being very in the moment works really, really well for me, because I go have a rough idea and I can just sort of go and I'm not thinking too hard about it, and I'm able to have this creativity, which has really been a wonderful outlet. And even knitting still helped because I'm like, okay, even if I can only knit one row, it's okay. I've made some progress and I can pick up where I left off. And so all those things really ended up having knitting as a hobby when I was like struggling with a diagnosis and everything was really helpful, because it was something I felt like all these things were sliding away, but I was still able to make progress on some knitting projects. And so that made me like feel still like me. And now like the fatigue is just part of me. Like so I guess before we got married, I like made the decision. I was like, I'm going to assume that I'm always going to have this fatigue. If I get better, that's great. Hopefully I don't get worse, but I decided to rethink my goals so that way I wasn't continually disappointed. And I mean, honestly, I always wanted to be a teacher. So look what I'm doing today, right? It's just a different avenue than what I initially thought when I started off. So, oh gosh, I have no idea how menopause would be. Yeah, and I think that what's hard when I tell people I have chronic fatigue, I have such a bubbly, energetic personality that people are like, you? What? And so it can be really hard to see. And it's hard because when the fog is so big, I feel like it's visible. Like I feel like everyone can see this like haze that I feel myself like when I'm struggling to move and stuff. And I think for me, the most frustrating part is the forgetfulness and how like I have a lot of trouble keeping track of things, which is another reason why filming videos is great, because I don't have to worry about remembering like exactly how much dye or vinegar I used. I write it down as I'm editing. It's perfect. Oh, it's perfect. But yeah, and so there are days that, so the kids are in school 3 days a week right now, and those are the days that I usually use for filming and editing. But then there's some days where I'm like, I just need to rest today. And, you know, I have that flexibility that I can do that. And so I always like try to like, you know, like have my like health first or whatever. But I'm yeah, I'm enjoying the schedule that we've sort of settled, and I've sort of settled into this routine that I've settled into for the YouTube channel. And I'm really, really enjoying it and having a lot of fun. And yeah, I got nervous, I think around the holidays last year. My like number of video, like things were getting a little closer. Like I was editing videos for like the very next week or for that week. And so that was a little more stressful. But like over like the early fall and over the, you know, in the spring are good times for me to build up a bit of a buffer. Oh, cool. Yeah, I haven't met in a lot of other people in person. Um, yeah, I definitely get overwhelmed really, really easily. And so having to make decisions about like travel really stresses me out because I get nervous that I'm gonna like forget something. But I have like, you know, when I pack, I make a list of things I need, and then I go through and I pull everything and put it like in a laundry hamper. And then I go through again and take everything, put it in a suitcase, and cross it off a list. Because that way I don't have to go and unpack and repack the suitcase to double check that I packed something. If I've crossed it off on the list, I know it is packed in the bag. And so I have all these like lists and strategies like that that really do ultimately help. But I definitely like I forget things a lot. And I probably always had some anxiety, but my anxiety, whatever anxiety I had definitely got worse with the fatigue symptoms. Um, and so, yeah, uh, that is the truth. But yeah, I think that like it works, and I mean, I think you guys enjoy like the content that I put out there, and so, and I know I enjoy getting to do this, and yeah, my reactions and videos are usually like I'm a pretty positive person overall. And so I try to be honest when I don't love something. But like I don't know, with this my approach, I don't know. I genuinely get excited by all of these like results, and I just think it's so cool. And I have so much fun doing it. And so I hope that you guys will enjoy watching me for a long time so that way I can keep doing this. Because it's fun and I love it, and I love like business. Oh, I don't love the business. I don't know. I just like being this company and like thinking about like yeah, just sort of seeing where we end up. It's great. But big hugs to all of you who are sharing things in the comments. Yeah, I mean, this is something I don't talk about it a ton, but I think it's worth just sharing because it's sort of real. And yeah, I don't know, it's a big part of my life. And although honestly, this is gonna be really weird, but so as someone who's like dealt with like the fatigue and then sometimes insomnia and all this stuff, the like sleep deprivation from being, oh, Christine, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. I think that the coping mechanisms that I'd already developed through like therapy and trial and error really helped me deal with some of the fatigue from like the newborn phase. Well, Lucas was a good sleeper, so that helped. But you know, when I was pregnant, since like I mean I was doing more writing than filming, but back then, but I like if I needed to rest, I could rest, and so that was great. And then it was harder a bit with Ryder, but he wasn't as good of a sleeper. But so Keith started giving me, I would get 3 guaranteed hours where he would be on baby duty, and like, you know, I'd feed Ryder, and then there would be 3 hours there I was off call, so I knew then I would get at least like a solid certain chunk of sleep, and that really helped. But yeah, otherwise, like, I was tired all the time, so I sort of knew a little bit about how to function or how to like prepare and what help to ask for. And so I think that that helped, because maybe like the change of exhaustion was not as extreme. It's weird. I still would wish to be like my old self that could do like could go and do 10,000 things at once, but you know, I think that I do okay. um, yeah. I definitely like I have like anxiety attacks, which are can be so frustrating sometimes because I know in my brain, like, I just can't turn off the physiological response that my body is having. So I do a lot of stuff to try to minimize that from happening by like coming up with so many different contingency plans. Then like I'm like, okay, like if I yeah, and that just sort of helps. But sometimes like when something gets sort of thrown at me, it can be hard. But yarn is fairly uncomplicated and just a whole lot of fun. And when I look back to even like about a year ago, like when I started playing with acid dyes, like I feel like I've grown so much and I'm feeling so much more confident. And I think that this year, some of my goals are to do some mordants this summer and explore more natural dyes. And I also want to start using some fiber reactive dyes. I mean, I've used like tie-dye and other stuff, but I want to try like Dharma fiber reactive dyes and, you know, soak cotton and soda ash beforehand and play around with it, because I think that there's some like other, I'm curious to like compare and contrast it with acid dyes on wool and just sort of get like this feel for another thing. But I'm glad that I didn't go into it too fast, because I feel like I'm getting a better handle. There's still so much for me to like learn with acid dyes. Like I'm really comfortable with food coloring and I'm fairly comfortable with acid dyes. And so it's just sort of fun to just like explore. So I have a feeling if not this year, then like 2020 would probably be like, yeah, a huge year of fiber reactive dye experiments, because with some things it's like, oh, let's just try it once and cool. But like with acid dyes, like how many different videos can I do? Like how many different techniques can I try? There are so many. And so there's just, my list of ideas keeps growing and growing and growing. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, the alum is your go-to mordant. Yeah, alum's what I'm planning on using as too. Yeah, the knitting, my first doctor, like when the fatigue symptoms started, like one of the things we ruled out early on was depression, in addition to like a bunch of other things. And my doctor who was working with me for like the diagnosis, and I was very lucky with having doctors who like were very helpful the whole way. But she was like, you know, I'm going to start worrying about you when you stop knitting. Because she's like, as long as you're like, you know, still like involved like with this hobby, like that, you know, for like, you know, for your, like, I'm not worried about your mental health until like that starts going. Unfortunately, these days I don't knit as much as I used to, probably because I'm putting a lot of my fiber love into the yarn dyeing. But I am this year also hoping to just carve out some more time when I'm, yeah, just doing like some knitting stuff. But I don't know, I'm feeling very like fulfilled with my creativity bones. And oh, there's my other shoe. Yeah, so anyway, this has been a long digression. I knew that I was probably going to go down some of these paths tonight. I knew I was going to talk about the running and stuff because I just felt the need to share some of that. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, I guess like this is one of those like, yeah, I'm a real person kind of things. Like I definitely like make my share of like mistakes and stuff, but um I hope that if I can, and I say this sometimes, but like if I can inspire some of you to go and give yarn tying a shot, or if that isn't some, if it's something you just enjoy watching and don't want to try, but maybe go and sort of go for it and give something a shot, then like I'm doing my job right. Because my goal is really to make yarn tying feel approachable, unintimidating, and like something that you can just sort of have fun and have it be a creative outlet. And so that's sort of my goal. I don't really have a mission statement, but something like that would be part of it. But I'm going to sign off and probably go to bed. Because, I mean, it's only 9:30, but I'm going to go to bed. Again, I'm going to drop the, I'm going to drop the KnitPicks sale link in the chat one more time. This spring sale ends tonight at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. Use the code March 15 for 15% off. And yeah, it's a good big sale, a great time to try things out. Sometimes I use this as an opportunity to test out some new bare yarn bases, but get them at sort of that bulk discount price without having to commit to 20. And so that is something that I like to do. Oh, awesome. I'm glad you guys are going to have a session. That's great. And yeah, the other stuff, and I'll update, I have links to like this, the syringes and graduated cylinders that I just got. You don't really need them, but they could be fun to play with for color mixing and stuff. So yeah, I've been very excited for those to show up. And now I have to decide if I need to make one more order. I don't know. Probably not. I have another order on the way. I think I'll unbox it at some point, but I think I got more wool of the Andes. Yeah. And oh man, I need to like clean up really badly. Oh, that's probably what I need to do tomorrow. Oh goodness. Yeah, I have stuff like all over the place, but anyway, thank you guys so much for joining, tuning in and hanging out. This was actually a little therapeutic for me, but it was also just a lot of fun to just open up these things and hang out. And I appreciate you guys tuning in to these like more casual live streams. Hopefully, I hope next week to just do like a random yarn tying stream. There's a bunch of stuff I want to play around with that I think would work well in a live stream environment. So yeah, stay tuned, subscribe, turn on notifications, and I will catch all of you soon. Good night, everyone. Sorry, whenever I like sign off and I like have to come close to the camera to do it, it always just feels so awkward and funny. Like, good night. I can see why some YouTubers are like do the like that when they sign off.